Well, hello, good morning. This is Rich Benfield standing in for Stephen Ridgway on a daily cyber briefing. Today is Monday the 12th of May. It's 8:30 in the morning, and here are your headlines. Cisco iOS XE wireless controller software arbitrary file upload vulnerability. This is a big one with a CVSS score of 10. Proof of concept code published for Linux nftables security vulnerability. Ascension reveals personal data of 437,329 patients exposed in a cyber attack. Fake AI video generators drop new Noodlophile infostealer malware. And Operation Moonlander dismantled the botnet behind Anyproxy and 5SOC cybercriminal services. So, to the top. Cisco on May the 7th scored a perfect 10 with their latest CVE. So this is CVE 2025-20188. Links will be in the social, so you can check this out for yourself. This isn't a news article, so there's going to be no pithy journalism. This is straight from Cisco's website with their security advisories. So the summary is as follows. A vulnerability in the out-of-band access point image download feature of Cisco iOS XE software for wireless LAN controllers could allow an unauthenticated remote attacker to upload arbitrary files to an affected system. This vulnerability is due to the presence of a hard-coded JSON web token on an affected system. An attacker can exploit this vulnerability by sending crafted HTTPS requests to the AP image download interface. A successful exploit could allow the attacker to upload files, perform path traversal, and execute arbitrary commands with root privileges. So do note that for the exploitation to be successful, the out-of-band AP image download feature must be enabled on the device. It is not enabled by default, but definitely worth you checking because, yeah, this is a hard-coded JWT. So if it works for one, it works for them all, okay? So Cisco have released a software update to address this vulnerability. There's no workarounds that address this vulnerability, although if the out-of-band AP image download feature is not enabled or hasn't been changed because it's not enabled by default, then you're going to be fine, but do go ahead and patch because, yes, this is a serious one with a perfect score of 10. Okay. So, affected products. This vulnerability affects the following Cisco products if they're running a vulnerable release of Cisco iOS XE software for WLCs and have the out-of-band AP image download feature enabled. So, this affects Catalyst 9800CL wireless controllers for cloud, Catalyst 9800 embedded wireless controller for Catalyst 9300, 9400, and 9500 series switches, Catalyst 9800 series wireless controllers, and embedded wireless controller on Catalyst APs. They do have a fixed software list, which we'll run through shortly to tell you which software releases are vulnerable. They also have the commands on this page to determine the device configuration. So do make note of that. You can, as I said, you can follow these links in the socials. And Cisco have confirmed that the vulnerability does not affect the following Cisco products: iOS software, iOS XE software running on devices that are not functioning as WLCs and not listed in the vulnerable products section of this advisory, iOS XR software, Meraki products, NXOS software, WLC AirOS software. Okay, so if you bought from Cisco but do not hold a Cisco service contract, and also this applies to customers who make purchases through third-party vendors, you can actually obtain this upgrade by contacting the Cisco TAC, which is pretty cool. They're obviously taking it very seriously. Make sure you've got your product serial number available, and be prepared to provide the URL of this advisory as evidence of entitlement to a free upgrade. Okay. So also on this page, they've got a Cisco software checker to so you can enter your reference number and check against this advisory, and it will tell you if you're affected. So absolutely use this link if you're running Catalyst 9800s. Basically, most things in that series. The Catalyst 93, 94, and 9500 series switches as well. Okay, so moving on. Proof of concept code published for Linux nftables security vulnerability. So security researchers have published a proof of concept exploit code for CVE 2024-26809, a high severity double free vulnerability in Linux's nftables firewall subsystem. The flaw allows local attackers to escalate privileges and execute arbitrary code, posing significant risks to unpatched systems. So nftables, it's the modern replacement for legacy IP tables, and it manages network packet filtering through components like tables, sets, and rules. According to the GitHub report, the vulnerability resides in its pipapo set. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing that right. It's spelled P-I-P-A-P-O set. Anyway, the vulnerability resides in that implementation, which uses a packet processing pipeline for efficient rule matching. The double free occurs in nft_pipapo_destroy when a set marked as dirty, modified but not committed, is deleted. The function fails to check whether elements exist in both the live match and backup clone structures, leading to repeated deallocations of the same memory. There are exploitation steps listed in this article. It's on GB Hackers. They are normally really good with this sort of thing for explaining how to do it, where it comes from, so on and so forth. So as per usual, in fact, links will be on the socials, so you can actually do this yourself. You can actually exploit this yourself. In terms of impact and mitigation, the affected systems are Linux kernels equal to or greater than 5.4 that have nftables support prior to patch versions. It's a local privilege escalation to root, bypassing security mechanisms like SE Linux. So you need to apply kernel updates from vendor repos immediately, restrict privileged user access where patching is delayed, and monitor for anomalous nftables configuration changes. Okay, so Linux maintainers have addressed the issue in kernel versions 6.1.45, 5.15.9, and 5.4.260. So system admins are urged to prioritize updates for critical infrastructure. Okay. So, right, moving on. Ascension reveals personal data of 437,329 patients exposed in a cyber attack. So, this is a data breach at Ascension caused by a former partner's compromise, and it's exposed health information of over 430,000 patients. Ascension are one of the largest private healthcare systems in the US, ranking second in the United States by the number of hospitals as of 2019. At the end of April, the company notified patients that their personal and health information had been compromised in a December 2024 data breach suffered by a former business partner. The data breach exposed personal and clinical data, including names, contact info, social security numbers, and medical visit details. The company states that specific information varies by individual. And we quote, "On December 5th, 2024, we learned that Ascension patient information may have been involved in a potential security incident. We immediately initiated an investigation to determine whether and how a security incident occurred," reads the data breach notification sent to impacted individuals. "Our investigation determined on January 21st, 2025, that Ascension inadvertently disclosed information to a former business partner, and some of this information was likely stolen from there due to a vulnerability in third-party software used by the former business partner." The company did not provide technical details about the security breach. However, the breach likely stems from Clop ransomware attacks exploiting a Clio file transfer software flaw. Ascension is offering 2 years of free identity monitoring, including credit monitoring, fraud support, and identity theft restoration through Kroll. In a recent filing on April 29th, the healthcare organization reported that the incident impacted 114,692 people in Texas and another 96 residents in Massachusetts. And then Ascension disclosed in another April filing with the US Department of Health and Human Services that a data breach affected the 437,329 individuals. However, Ascension confirmed in a filing with the US Department of Health and Human Services on April 28th that the data breach did affect all of these people, and it's not the first instance suffered by them. In May 2024, the organization was hit by a Black Basta ransomware attack that severely impacted operations at hospitals in the country. So, Although not necessarily impacting those of us in the UK, it is important to understand what's going on a global scale, and that is a significant breach. And if you have used Ascension Healthcare in the US for any reason, you might well get an email or a letter about that. So next up, fake AI video generators drop new Noodlophile infostealer malware. So fake AI-powered video generation tools are being used to distribute a new information-stealing malware family called Noodlophile under the guise of generated media content. The websites use enticing names like the Dream Machine and are advertised on high-visibility groups on Facebook, posing as advanced AI tools that generate videos based on uploaded user files. Although the use of AI tools to deliver malware isn't a new concept and has been adopted by experienced cybercriminals, the discovery of the latest campaign by Morphisec introduces a new infostealer into the mix. According to Morphisec, Noodlophile is being sold on dark web forums, often bundled with get cookie and pass services. So it's a new malware as a service operation linked to Vietnamese-speaking operators. So once a victim visits a malicious website and uploads their files, they receive a zip archive that is supposed to contain AI-generated video. Instead, the zip contains a deceptively named executable called Video Dream Machine AI.mp4.exe and a hidden folder with various files needed for the subsequent stages. If a Windows user has file extensions disabled, don't do that. At a quick glance, it would look like an MP4 video file. The file Video Dream Machine AI.mp4.exe is a 32-bit C++ application signed using a certificate created via WinAuth, explains Morphisec. Despite its misleading name, suggesting an MP4 video, this binary is actually a repurposed version of CapCut, a legitimate video editing tool. In fact, it's version 445.0. This deceptive naming and certificate help it evade user suspicion and some security solutions. Double-clicking on the fake MP4 will execute a series of executables that eventually launch a batch script called document.docx/install.bat. The script uses legitimate Windows tool certutil.exe to decode and extract a base64 encoded password-protected RAR archive posing as a PDF document. At the same time, it also adds a new registry key for persistence. Next, the script executes srchost.exe, which runs an obfuscated Python script, randomuser2025.txt, fetched from a hard-coded remote server address, eventually executing the Noodlophile stealer in memory. If a VAST is detected on the compromised system, PE hollowing is used to inject the payload into regasm.exe. Otherwise, shellcode injection is used for in-memory execution. So, Noodlophile stealer represents a new addition to the malware ecosystem. Previously undocumented in public malware trackers or reports, this stealer combines browser credential theft, wallet exfiltration, and optional remote access deployment, explains the Morphisec researchers. Stolen data is exfiltrated via a Telegram bot, which serves as a covert command and control server, giving attackers real-time access to stolen information. In some cases, Noodlophile is bundled with Xworm, a remote access Trojan, giving the attackers elevated data theft capabilities that go well beyond the passive stealing facilitated by the infostealer. The best way to protect from malware is to avoid downloading and executing files from an unknown website, and always verify file extensions before opening, and scan all downloaded files on an up-to-date AV tool before executing. And last article of this morning, Operation Moonlander dismantled the botnet behind Anyproxy and 5SOC's cybercriminal services. So law enforcement dismantled a 20-year botnet behind Anyproxy and 5SOC's cybercriminal services and arrested 4 suspects. Sorry, I'm tripping over my own tongue there. So authorities dismantled this 20-year-old botnet as part of an international operation codenamed Operation Moonlander. 4 men, including 3 Russians, were indicted for running the illegal proxy networks. The US Justice Department charged Russian nationals Alexei Viktorovich Chertkov, 37, and Kirill Vladimirovich Morozov, 41. And I'm not going to try and pronounce these names. And somebody called Mr. Shishkin, who's 36, Dmitry Rutsov, 38, and a Kazakhstani national with conspiracy and damage to protected computers for conspiring with others to maintain, operate, and profit from Anyproxy and 5SOC services. US authorities worked with Dutch National Police, the Netherlands Public Prosecution Service, the Royal Thai Police, and cybersecurity firm Lumen Technologies Black Lotus Labs. The indictment alleges that a botnet was created by infecting older model wireless internet routers worldwide, including the US, using malware without their owner's knowledge. The installed malware allowed the routers to be reconfigured, granting unauthorized access to third parties and making the routers available for sale as proxy servers on the Anyproxy.net and 5socks.net websites. Both website domains were managed by a company headquartered in Virginia, hosted on computer servers worldwide. Court documents reveal 5socks.net sold over 7,000 proxies globally, charging $9.95 to $110 a month and earning $46 million by exploiting infected routers via the Anyproxy botnet. Operating since 2004, the site falsely claimed identities to registered domains. Chertkov and Rutsov faced charges for false domain registration. FBI agents in Oklahoma found malware on residential and business routers without users' knowledge. Black Lotus Labs Lumen researchers found an average of 1,000 unique bots weekly contacting C2 servers in Turkey, with most victims in the US, followed by Canada and Ecuador. The botnet operators allowed cryptocurrency payments, and the bot targets Internet of Things and single office home office devices. Given the source range, only around 10% are detected as malicious in popular tools such as VirusTotal, meaning they consistently avoid network monitoring tools with a high degree of success. Proxies such as this are designed to help conceal a range of illicit pursuits, including ad fraud, DDoS attacks, brute forcing, or exploiting victims' data. According to the reports, newly infected devices contact a Turkish C2 network composed of 5 servers, mostly using port 80. The researchers noticed that one server uses UDP on port 1443, likely for victim data storage. The botnet offers a rent-a-proxy service where users buy access to IP port combos for 24 hours with no authentication required. The system checks deny lists to avoid detection, but open access allows customers to carry out a broad range of malicious activities like ad fraud, DDoS, brute force attacks, and data exploitation. Okay. So this week, the FBI released a flash alert warning about 5socks and Anyproxy malicious services targeting end-of-life routers. Attackers target end-of-life devices to deploy malware by exploiting vulnerabilities and create botnets for attacks or proxy services. The alert urges replacing compromised routers or preventing infection by disabling remote admin and rebooting. End-of-life routers lack security updates and are vulnerable to cyber attacks. The lack of security updates makes them easy targets for threat actors who exploit known vulnerabilities, often via exposed remote management. Okay, so the upshot is, if your router is unsupported, then you don't get security patches that you need, and this sort of thing can happen to you. So I know that various standards that a lot of companies are required to adhere to do say that you must have currently supported hardware. That doesn't mean necessarily the most up-to-date, but does have to be currently supported with regular security updates and patches from the vendors. If you are not working on that basis, if you do have out-of-date kit that is no longer supported, you would be very, very wise to replace it. And that is this morning's daily cyber briefing. Sorry, I've made a complete hash of it, but hopefully you got the gist. All the links will be on the socials, and you'll be able to follow them from there. Have a good day. Normal business will be resumed tomorrow when Stephen Ridgway returns. Thanks very much. Goodbye.